Welcome to the Momentum Podcast, and thank you for joining us this week as we jump into brave questions. This week, we are welcoming back my good friend and colleague, Dr. Joshua Filler. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me back. I'm happy, so happy to be here. Of course, I always like talking with you, so this will be a joy for me.
And there's so much to talk about during this season. So much has changed in the last month. And as people who are psychologists, right, and we love organizational psychology, positive psychology, oh my gosh, we have like a decade worth of conversations from this past month.
Yeah.
What are some things that first come to your mind here that, like, when you reflect on, oh my goodness, what has happened over the past month?
Yeah. So for me, like, as you said, like, this is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type of experience. At least we hope that it's not much more than that. And so those types of moments, especially when they're not a good moment, right? Like there are a lot of negatives that derive around this pandemic, right? Like that's clearly a negative.
Right.
So for me, I think a lot of it has revolved around finding ways in which to kind of govern myself in a way that's going to take this negative experience and grow from it and learn from it, because there is clearly God is clearly communicating to us in a pain, right? Like in pain, like that is the megaphone that God chooses to speak. Sometimes he whispers, sometimes it's in a normal voice, and sometimes it's with a megaphone. Yes. And with pain, that is often the case.
Wow.
And so for me, it's like, okay, what can I take on in this new season, right? In this type of space, what can I take on and pay particular attention to try and grow and learn from? Because if God is speaking loudly, then I want to listen attentively.
Wow. I love that. That's in the literature too. Post-traumatic stress is a term, and there's also a term, post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
That how can we grow? We're not, not to say the trauma is less or not painful, but how can we make sure that we're capturing the lessons that are meant to be learned through the pain?
Absolutely. And you want to take this, like, because I understand, like, there are like horrible circumstances, right? Like the context and the environments in which people are experiencing this vary widely, right? There's a huge range in which people could experience this. You could be out of work. You could be with a future that's much less certain. And so I understand that. And with all of that, like, you want to, I want to grow and I want to understand and I want to, like, take on as much as I can through this. But the context doesn't necessarily dictate the process of which you can learn through this. Right? Like, I can process this in ways that are beneficial to me. Right? Like, even though the context may be quite challenging, the way I internalize it, the way I process through it, that can be a really good experience. And so, just the context being negative doesn't mean the end result has to be negative. So that's kind of the perspective that I take with things like this, and certainly with this. I
love that. With
this pandemic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That just because the context is negative doesn't mean that the result needs to be negative. The predictors don't define the outcome. We get to be the person who processes it and define the outcome or influence what it means for us as an outcome in our own lives.
Exactly. So we are still in control. And I think that's something that people feel, or myself included, like a lot of us may feel in certain areas of life where we don't have the control we once did. We feel powerless to a lot of the situational factors. That you could easily fall into a victim mentality, like, the world has turned against me here, like everything's going wrong. I can easily see that happening, but the way in which we process this experience and the events around us can still be a really positive thing. It just may take some time, to reap those, benefits. Some of the information that's come to light, to me anyways, is the pursuit of comfort in all of this, and when I'm seeing like some of the data around it, like comfort is king in uncertainty. It really is. People like this.
Yes.
I'll some of the data that was really shocking to me is the amount of alcohol consumption is increased. So like alcohol sales are up like 55%. Online alcohol sales are up 243%. Like weed sales are up across the country. People are eating more, especially like so they're calling it the COVID 15 or the quarantine 15, which I think is a funny way to make light of that.
Wow.
And according to like 68,000 fitness trackers, Americans are moving a lot less and they're sleeping more. So, there are clearly some signs that people are seeking out comfort, right? They want to be more comfortable. They want to, that comfort eating. They're resting more and kind of laying around a little bit more, sleeping more. Nothing in itself is terrible or bad, but it's all comfort-seeking type activities, and that's okay, right? That's okay to be comfortable. Comfort is not bad, especially in a moment of uncertainty and when things are kind of scary or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then, how much, right? To what extent and for how long? So we want to know, like, what's the depth and duration of these maybe maladaptive behavior. And so we're trying to understand that just for myself, right, as well. Like, so I've definitely found for myself, like I'm seeking out like nostalgic movies that I watched when I was a kid growing up.
Fun.
Yeah, they're really, really fun. But I'm not watching like 4 movies a day. I'll watch like a movie, maybe half a movie, whatever I have time for at the end of the day after my kids go to bed. And they're the typical, like, maybe a Disney movie or an Indiana Jones like action movie, just something simple and nice and kind of fun to enjoy. But then in moderation, right? I don't want to overdo it because I still want that to have a positive impact. Like I love ice cream. If I eat ice cream 3 times a day, the third bowl of ice cream is not going to be that great.
Yeah.
Like it just won't have the same impact that the first bowl did, or even the first bite of the first bowl, right? So how much do I want this to, like, how much do I want like a fun movie to affect me? Well, I still want it to have its potency, so I don't want to overdo it.
I think, so many things have that diminishing returns. We think one is good, so the whole bottle might be better. Well, that's certainly not the case.
Right.
But sometimes we have this limited ability to understand that it's curvilinear. It's like bend the curve. It's that kind of curve.
Right.
In the same way, if 1 is good, it doesn't mean 10 is better. Like 1 is good, another 1.5 is whatever, but 10 is not good. It's actually negative for you.
Exactly.
And on so many things, whether it's hours of TV or beverages or food, like the diminishing returns and sometimes inverse of health if we put too much of a good thing.
Exactly. So then it's just a matter of finding for yourself what is still effective, right? Like how many hours of TV for you are healthy, and then just trying to moderate that, trying to like have an appropriate amount, like even writing it down. Like, okay, I'm going to keep myself to just 2 or 3 hours of TV per day, or whatever works for you as an individual. Yeah. The nice thing about this is that you have this freedom to do this kind of social permissible freedom to do all these different things that maybe you didn't have time for or permission to do before, because now it's like you can try new things here, because a lot of people are trying new things. And if most people or many people are doing it, well, maybe then we have the permission to try new things too. Maybe you used to have poker night with the guys every month, and that's not going to be possible now. So maybe try online poker with the guys and get them together and like, oh, well, normally we wouldn't do that, but let's give it a shot, right? Let's try something new to try and replace or at least satisfy, some of the old things that we did that were really life-giving in a new modality.
I think of like, imagine if someone would have invited me to like an online poker night or online game thing a month ago, I would have laughed at them like, are you serious? I'm not like an online game addict. What are you talking about?
Right.
And now it would be like, oh yeah, sure. Tell me the game I'm on.
Exactly. It's like, oh, please, I was waiting for you to ask.
Someone, I don't care the game. Just...
Right. And so you have this opportunity to do things or even ask things of other people that you normally wouldn't have that kind of social permission to ask. And I've had people tell me that they're talking with business professionals, that, people that they aspire to be, right? Like they're in a position that I want to have.
Wow.
Well, reach out to them. They probably have the time and availability to talk to you now, whereas before they didn't. And maybe they're longing for somebody to talk to also. And maybe brag a little bit about how they got to where they want to be, or how they got to where you want to be.
Wow. So
I thought that was really interesting. And just trying new things, I think you have a lot of permission to do that, which I think is really fun. Kind of a silver lining in all of this. You have some new feature with all of that. Something as we're approaching the end of a month or the end of a week, is called the fresh start effect. And I love the fresh start effect because even in this moment, right, even in this kind of this moment of this adjusting to new normal, seemingly the ground's shifting beneath our feet on a regular basis, we have so many fresh start effects happening.
Yeah.
That we can really take advantage of that. Like, okay, so maybe yesterday wasn't a great day. Maybe I binge watched a ton of Netflix, something, who knows what. Today's a new day.
Wow.
Right? Like today is a new day and yesterday doesn't dictate what today is for me. Oof. So I get this fresh start effect on a pretty big effect side. Like you have the large implications of these because so much of it is changing, right? This self-isolation, that's a huge fresh start effect. So now we're at home. So what does a fresh start effect look like at home? For me, it's been a lot of gardening and yard work. And I got to make raised garden beds with my daughter that's 5 years old. So my daughter and my son, they're like planting little seeds and little gardens that, we wouldn't normally do because we don't have time for. I would love to do it. I just didn't really have the time to do that.
Now the rest of their life, they'll have fond memories of gardening with their father.
Right.
What a gift.
Right. And it's really fun. So whether I don't think I'm a very good gardener. So whether these plants actually survive or not is less of the point. I hope they do. But we have that fresh start effect to try a new thing, to do this activity. And if it's at home, then it could be gardening. If it's maybe you don't have space for a garden, it could be like doing a puzzle. Like a jigsaw puzzle. I love those too. And with a partner or a friend to do that, or starting a workout regimen, right? You have the time and availability. And it doesn't have to be 5 hours a day or anything. It could be 30 minutes, right? Like this is a fresh start to try something new, develop new habits. And we have the ability to do that on a regular basis. We get so many opportunities, second chances to okay, I only worked out one day last week. I feel like I failed. No, you did one day. This is a fresh start. We get a new week.
Yeah, right.
You get another chance to do the things that you really want to do, to grow in ways that you really want to grow. And a few other people have told me that they're taking online piano lessons right now. Which I thought was really fun. That's a cool way to do it. Another person said they were learning to code a new computer language because that's something you can do at home. So you get all these chances to really start a new project. And to me, that's really exciting because I think these fresh starts are few and far between. Normally, it's your birthday and January 1st. Those are the big ones. Yeah. Now we're getting them so much more. Right, they're happening so much more often, and we have chances to really utilize them at such a greater capacity. And I think that's great. We really benefit from that.
And you've really done that with your family. You said in gardening And it sounds like, when many of us, and I'm sure there's a spectrum, many of us are relaxing, sleeping in, still doing our work, but sleeping in, watching TV. What you've chosen to build in healthy habits and really take advantage and capitalize on this shift. What are some habits then that you've built in to your family structure?
Well, something that I think has been really helpful, and it was partly by choice, partly by necessity, honestly, with two young kids in the home.
Yep.
There's a lot of structure that they require. And so building in like, okay, here's our study time. We're going to have school from this time to this time. And we do it every day at the same time. And then we have recess at the same time. We have snack time at the same time. We have, a regular scheduled, meals that happen really like clockwork every day. And that helps a lot, keep some normalcy to our lives. That's been very helpful. So in that, I've also had the opportunity, being at home so much, to multitask. But something that I think is a little bit different is what's called slow multitasking. And slow multitasking is like when you have these really big projects that maybe can't be finished or are sometimes really challenging and you get stuck.
Yeah.
Well, then you just switch to another really big project. And oftentimes what happens is you over the course of some time, you think about or get reminded of like, oh, this different thing, right, that I'm working on. Well, that actually gives me some insight into this other project that I was working on. Or maybe I just learned something new that's going to help me move forward on this project where I was stuck. Now I have the opportunity to move forward. A really good example of that is Charles Darwin. And it's amazing. He was one of the best slow multitaskers. Everyone understands him as like the father of evolutionary biology. Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
On the origin of species. That's awesome, and that's what he's known for, but that's not what he wrote the most about. He was far more productive in quite a few other areas. He was the world expert on sea barnacles. Like he was he knew the most about those. And even more beyond that, he was the world expert and did the most research on earthworms. Like he is the world leader at the time. He was the world leader on earthworm research.
Unbelievable.
He had huge piles of like earth, right, dirt in his house with worms in them, and he would do like little research. He would like blow smoke in their face, or they don't have faces, on them to see how they respond. He would change the temperature to see what they do. And so as he's like working on these really complex, difficult things like evolutionary biology, he's also at the same time working on looking and investigating the behavior of worms and the different kinds of species and the kind of earth they generate and distribute and how quickly and any seasonalities they have and environmental factors. And so as he gets stuck in one area, he just moves to the other area that he has going on, and he keeps working. Right? He's still productive. He doesn't just sit back and watch Netflix because I got stuck on my homework. I don't know what to do now. I'm just going to watch my favorite TV show.
And 1 hour turns into 3.
Right? No, the slow multitasking is just moving from big project to big project. And then when you get stuck on one, you just move to another. And in that way, it may take some time because it does slow down the process, or can slow down the process, but it moves you forward on many different fronts. So you actually are more productive because you have several projects going at the same time. That way, and I don't feel bad by not being like really fast completing any of the projects I have around my house. Like I still have I don't know how many projects I have going on now.
Well, we talked the last episode we had you on about your
the solar panels. Yeah, I haven't put them up on my roof yet. They're still in my garage. Yeah, they're still in my garage. But I'm making progress, on the permitting process for that. And
of course.
I just sent an email yesterday just looking at updates and investigating, different wiring schematics and stuff. But in the midst, while I'm waiting for that big project, I'm also taping off and getting ready to paint my car. Right, like I have a large SUV that needs to be touched up. But I thought, okay, this gives me the opportunity. I'm not driving anywhere right now.
That's right.
I have the chance to touch up and paint some of that, which normally I I wouldn't do. It's an overwhelming project. Just to tape it up and put the plastic on, it's taking me like an embarrassing long amount of time. Like it's it's like a week of me just taping. Like literally every day I go out there and just tape a section of the car.
So resilient in for like you're missing a couple paint chips off the roof. Like how bad is this?
But yeah, it needs the help. I want it to last a long time, but it's a project that I think is fun. I do it with my daughter, and she's really helping out a lot, and she's excited
so you can
about
justify it with I get to spend time with my daughter because there's no way that's rewarding enough.
No, it's a struggle. It is a struggle to get over there and do it, but she likes doing it, so I'm like, okay, she wants to go tape the car. Let's go do that. So it's just like solar panels on the house, painting my car.
Man,
garden
your garage
boxes.
has to be ridiculous full right now. Like, do you even have room for your cars in there? Or are you one of those like park outside the garage people?
Well, fortunately, right now we have the space. But yeah, there have been times when we had to park out on the road for sure.
I've noticed that. A lot of people, like walking down my street, I noticed more cars park outside the garage than in the garage.
They're projecting. They are projecting. I think I saw an article that like garden type material sales are skyrocketing as well. So that's great. I love that people are having the opportunity to go out and do something like gardening, a victory garden or something that'll just take your mind off of some of the stresses of the day, but also be productive and maybe provide you with some nourishment, some good food.
Totally. Yeah, I've enjoyed that too. The gardening process, and it's therapeutic, right? There's positive mental effects shown with just playing in the dirt, planting some things, watering.
Right. Just seeing something grow to me is incredibly rewarding. Like I love growth. I think I'm obsessed with it. But to see even a vegetable or some plant grow to me is really nice. And my kids and I enjoy that. We like to see the things that we've planted, like trees or flowers or vegetables, and we love to see them grow. And it's just fun. We really enjoy that. But
I'm looking out the window here at my avocado tree, I put a stake in it. It was leaning over, put in a stake. Now I'm just like getting such delight at looking at this avocado tree that's now like 5 feet tall and super straight up and down. I'm
that's
like,
great.
Yes, winning.
yes. It's the small things. It's like the accumulation of all these like small wins that really does generate a lot of joy. So it's nice to have like the opportunity to do this slow multitasking kind of process in which we can take on projects that maybe we normally wouldn't have time for, or maybe we'd be in over our head. I'll be honest. Like every project I'm doing right now, I'm in way over my head on. But
you don't have any like I have to finish next week.
Yeah,
I
the
need
timetable
by tomorrow.
Right. And I feel like I learn the most when we have like a 50% chance of failure. Right, it's very motivating, and we can learn a lot. So I feel like this is a unique time in history where we have the ability, the time, and just the confinement in our own homes to try something new, like coding a computer language, planting a garden, and so many different things that we can do. We just have to find ways in which we can make this work. Right? Like I can schedule this, and if I get stuck, then I'll just move on to the next big thing that I want to do.
I love that comfort you have with failure. I'm guessing you're not an expert at repainting cars.
No, I've never done it before.
Right? There's a good chance you could mess it up.
There's a really good chance.
Or even the same thing on the solar panels. I'm guessing you're not an expert on installing solar panels.
Nope, never done it before.
I mean, we can keep going down this list. There's lots of things you're doing right now.
I've also never gardened before.
That could really get messed up, so we gotta be careful. But at the same time, what a beautiful thing to model to your kids. They're like growing up, oh, my dad can do everything. He installs solar panels, he paints, he repaints cars, he does everything. And your comfort with failure, like suppose you mess up your car and it looks a little funny. Well, okay, you'll fix it. You don't watch a YouTube or something.
Right, it's just paint, right? No big deal.
So good.
Yeah, it is. That's taken me some time, honestly. And I think I grew up doing a lot of projects as well to be comfortable with the possibility of failure or just imperfection, right? It may not be the most pristine paint job ever, and it won't, I'm sure. But it's a learning process, and I'm okay with failure because there's always the opportunity to fix it, right? It's not like I lose the car if I paint it incorrectly. Right? That wouldn't happen. I don't know how bad of a paint job.
It's so embarrassing to drive. You just like,
Just
forget it,
sell
family.
it.
We are done.
You got to get rid of the car.
I thought I could do it. This is not going to work.
Yeah, okay.
Or the solar panels mess up your roof so bad that
Right.
you're like, we got to change houses.
Exactly. We got to move. I just can't live in this neighborhood anymore. People saw me fall off the roof. I'm too embarrassed.
That's it.
I got to move.
But I appreciate you have that comfort with risk and really like see almost the fear is what if I miss learning rather than what if I fail? Wow, what if I miss the opportunity to learn?
Yeah, or learn through trying something new. Learn through spending some time with my kids, and maybe they mess it up. Like, I'll be honest, they're young. They're 5 and 3, and sometimes when we're planting, they'll like step on the vegetables, and, like break the stems. It's like, okay, fine.
Is the whole family painting the car? Like everyone get a different paint can? Or how's this gonna work?
Oh no, definitely not.
Okay.
I don't have that much faith in them. But we'll see. At least they can help me sand it. That'll be something that there's not too much damage they could do with some very fine grit sandpaper.
I mean, I don't see many 5-year-olds working at the paint shop down the road.
True. No, well, there are labor laws that prohibit that.
I suppose. Yeah, but you model a really great comfort with risk, comfort with it's not like it's dangerous to paint your car, but this comfort with failure. That I think so many of us, it keeps us on the Netflix on hour 2 and 3 because, rather than just the 1 hour, we're doing these comfort, even vices, when the good things become too much because we're like, I think of myself, I need to paint a room. I don't know. I could put paint on the floor.
Right.
Or, I could mess this up or that up rather than just get started. And who knows, if you mess it up, we have another 2 months of self-isolating to figure it out.
Well, the nice part is, and I appreciate that you drew attention to it, if you just get started, right? Just get started.
Wow.
The likelihood that you continue and finish that project are dramatically greater than if you try and prepare perfectly beforehand and then get started.
Wow.
You're just probably most likely not going to start ever. Okay. So it's just like, okay, just start it however unprepared or imperfectly it may be.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start it. And then, now I realize I need that drop cloth on the floor. I need to make sure that I tape up all this stuff, but I can repaint. I can get some paint remover and put on. It's okay, right? Like it's all right. You can fix those mistakes most of the time fairly easily.
I'm literally writing down drop cloth right now because I'm like, maybe newspaper won't cut it.
Whatever works. It could be a few layers of newspaper because you don't want to like just walk around and rip it up. But yeah, drop cloth. The nice thing is, we live in an age when we can order a lot of things online, and so you don't actually have to go anywhere to get the supplies you need. Like you could order. I just ordered a roll of painter's film or like the plastic, painter's plastic.
To put over the window.
Yeah, to put over the windows of my car. So I have a huge roll of it. But it's not like you have to go anywhere. You can just order it online at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. And then you have, a roll of that drop cloth or whatever you need for that painting project. It's very accessible. Like there doesn't have to be any major roadblock to try something new, like just to give it a shot, and you'll learn as you go.
So good. So today we've talked through comfort, why toilet paper sold out. You gave us the explanation.
Yes.
And so many other things that we find like our heartwarming thing. You were saying earlier, like going back to your nostalgic videos, the Indiana Jones, and finding comfort in that. And to see how can we take advantage of this trauma, this collective trauma, and make it into growth, to craft it like clay into growth. I love that. And something else I think that will probably stick with our listeners is that slow multitasking. That idea that what a beautiful opportunity to have multiple projects going at one time, that the risks are really lower now than maybe ever. Like, you don't need your car, you don't need your house to be perfect. You're not going to have guests over tomorrow.
Right.
There's so much opportunity to step into risk that might otherwise be a little bit too much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much opportunity to take on a little bit of inexperienced, projecting, right? Whatever that is, it could be like development as well. Like when you're looking for at this really uncertain time, if occupationally, like you're just uncertain, like what do I do with this career choice I've made or this direction I thought I was going to take? I'm not sure that job market's there anymore, or I'm not sure if I'm as competitive as I need to be for that type of position. Well, this is a really great opportunity to seek out extra skills, like whether it's coding, whether it's an advanced degree, whether it's a voluntary project, right? Like just say, I want to be a part of this project that you're doing for your company to help reshape and rebuild and increase the efficacy of how we operate, because our bottom line is our margins are a lot more narrow now than they used to be. Let me serve, let me volunteer, because I want that experience on my resume, because I need that recommendation from you, because I want to be competitive and move forward in this, because I know that the unemployment rate's going to be through the roof. People are going to be looking for jobs, and I want to set myself apart. Like I don't want to sit idle. Right? I don't want to do nothing in the midst of this. I want to prepare. I want to move forward. I want to be competitive, and I want to ensure and have an agentic approach towards my future.
So good. I love it. And that might mean going back to school. That might mean taking an online course and networking with people that we might not otherwise.
Exactly.
I know at CBOR, applications are up basically across the board for grad school. Many people are saying, wow, now that I reflect on who I am and where I'm going, there's maybe some boundaries. Maybe my education is a boundary for becoming who I want to be. Yes. And it's an opportunity to craft a different person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a moment in time where it's not unlike other financial, difficult times, like either the financial crisis, Great Recession of 2008, 2009, and certainly other times, the dot-com bubble, other times when like there have been dramatic changes in the way that we operate. People have, by and large, been well served by increasing their skill set. And many of those have gone back to school to do that. I think that's a very reasonable thing to do, to increase your competitiveness, to learn some new skills, to gain some new insights into like, okay, what does this field actually do? I want to like study and learn and grow and maybe develop some skills along the way so that I can be more competitive when I am looking for that job, or when we do get the chance to go back to work. I want to move up and not just move sideways or take a lower level position than I had before.
That's great. As we close off, I'd like to ask a question of, suppose you have someone in the room on a call, a friend that you bump into, I don't know, while you're social distancing, getting your groceries. And someone that's fearful, really kind of like living in fear and really kind of scared for this season, scared for themselves, scared for their family. And what's your words? What's your 30-second response to a friend that is going through that pain, and maybe their world feels like it's getting smaller? What's your response to that in this season? Because I think that's not everyone, but that's many people, or we have a friend that's in that. What's your response to that person that right now their world seems like it's getting smaller?
The first thing that I would do for my friend would just be listen, like hear them, empathize. Like, it could be hard and scary and uncertain. And so just being there, right? Just being a physical presence or a virtual physical presence, in that space, to just hear them out and hear what they're going through, and then look to ask appreciative inquiry type questions, right? Where we're looking at, well, what would it be like if you did have the time to develop yourself in the way that you'd like to be?
Yeah.
Right. What would it look like if you had the opportunity? Who would you be, right, if you had your dream job? What kind of person would you be? What kind of skills would you have? What kind of interactions would you have with other people? What kind of discipline would you enforce in your own life to create that type of lifestyle that you talk about, that you really aspire to? Because I'd want them to do the same for me, to really ask me the questions, to help me get in the mindset, to get into like the notion and understanding that, okay, I may not be in the best mental space right now.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need to get there? What do I need to do to move into that space and ask myself maybe some soul searching questions about, okay, what do I really need to do? Well, I know for myself, I need to exercise regularly to really be my best.
Yeah.
So I have to find ways in which I can do that. Right now, my kids exercise with me, so it's not the best like exercise routine. They're like crawling under my wife and I as we're trying to like do these yoga poses and stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna fall on somebody. This is gonna be devastating. But finding ways in which we can still, however small, do the things that make us the best version of ourselves. And so asking that friend, like, what does the best version of yourself look like?
So good.
How can we move in that direction?
Wow. Thank you for that inspiration and that coaching really to us as to acknowledge and listen to someone who might be the feel like, but then also invite to, I think that's a twofold thing. I see you and I invite you to open up our mind, to broaden our perspective and see what good could be on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Fuller, for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We'll look forward to being in touch. And for those of you who are listening, following along, we invite you to join in conversation. Let us know the things you want to be talking about, things you want to have us be in conversation about as you join us with brave questions. This is Dr. Fuller and Dr. Nathan Iverson signing off on the Momentum Podcast. Thanks again.